Speaking of which, I want to play this video of some of the plans that Trump has day one when he gets into office. We kind of heard about a lot of them, right? We heard about several of them. We heard about, banning different things and whatnot. And we heard about the trans and banning and all this type of stuff, right? We heard about some stuff like that, right? I want to watch this video, though, that kind of outlines in a little greater detail. I don't know how much he's going to get into it, but I know it's a lot more detailed than what we've heard in the past about some of the things that Trump may do the day after the inauguration. All right, let's go here.
In 8 days, everything changes for the United States. I don't think people know what's coming. I'm talking about a fundamental shift in America, the total destruction of the Obama-Biden era. According to sources I've spoken to, President Trump is about to unleash the largest bomb of day one executive orders that we've seen in American history. That means within...
Yo, Trump hair look... I'm not trying to get off topic, but that hair looks a little wild right there, bro. That look crazy, bro. It looked like he combed it this way. You know what I'm saying? I can't imagine Trump uses a pick. Let me find out Trump uses a pick. That would change the game. Anyway, I digress. Let's continue.
1 hour of putting his hand on the Bible, taking the keys back to the White House, President Trump is scheduled to put his name on hundreds of executive orders immediately. So buckle up, folks. This is going to be big. So let's go through some of the huge details of what we are expecting in just a week's time. So within hours of the president taking the oath of office, President Trump is set to unleash a tidal wave of executive orders, hundreds of them, designed to obliterate the Obama-Biden legacy. If past is prologue, we can actually look back to 2016 for some clues about what's coming. But make no mistake about it, this time it'll be much, much bigger. So back in 2016, Trump hit the ground running. On day one, he signed executive orders to begin construction of the border wall, withdraw the United States from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, give the middle finger to environmentalists, expediting environmental reviews for infrastructure projects. He also froze federal hiring and took steps to undo Obamacare. Now imagine that, but doubled, tripled, or quadrupled in scale. Reports suggest Trump plans to reclassify thousands of civil service positions to ensure loyalty, reinstate travel bans to secure our borders.
So we should have a travel ban, an immediate deportation, and immediate consequences for the mother country that knowingly sends these people here.
Use a machete to basically slash regulations to reignite American industry. This isn't just hitting the reset button, guys. This is smashing it with a sledgehammer. This is why the left is panicking right now. They know that within 3 hours of Trump ascending to office, he will dismantle the policies they've spent years building. The Obama-Biden era isn't just ending, it's being erased. It's a globalist agenda that is being erased, and I cannot wait for it. So what's on the table for day one of 2025? Well, let's start with immigration. It starts right there. Trump plans to reinstate travel bans, not just as a matter of policy, but as a matter of national security. Reports suggest he's preparing mass deportation, stricter border enforcement, ensuring that the Darien Gap, Panama pipeline of illegal immigration stops cold.
Number one, we're closing the border. It's going to be closed very strongly, and it's going to be closed. And we're going to have to take people out that are criminals. We have people from jails from all over the world and from mental institutions. And as you know, they're going to have to be removed. And we're going to be really governed by common sense. These are the principles of common sense. We're not going to be governed by stupid people.
On the economy, expect new orders slashing regulations that have strangled American businesses. Trump's energy plan, by the way, is set to turbocharge independence by reopening federal lands for drilling, oil drilling, reversing Biden's crippling green agenda. But it's not just about oil, coal, and natural gas. It's also about critical minerals in the United States. One of America's biggest blind spots right now is critical minerals. The United States has some of the largest untapped reserves of essential minerals.
That's what Biden was just talking about with his concern for, what's it called? Climate change. I'm sorry. This is what he was just talking about.
Like copper, lithium, uranium, and other rare earth elements, which are vital from everything to construction, to computers, to EVs, to renewable energy technologies.
We're going to put the miners back to work.
Trump's focus on domestic mining isn't just about jobs. It's about securing America's supply chains, reducing our dependence on foreign nations like China for these resources. We get a huge amount of our enriched uranium, by the way, from Russia. This needs to stop right now.
I mean, this is like very common sense stuff. You know, if we have natural resources that we're not tapping into, the question is, how come we're not tapping into it? The question is, how come we are partnering and bolstering another country's economy when we have those resources in-house? And on top of that, we can provide jobs to Americans at the same time. It seems like a win-win to me. Now, granted, I'm very ignorant in these conversations, but this seems like common sense stuff. But I get the counter argument. The counter argument is like, oh, well, this is bad for the environment. So that's why we've held off, because the machinery required to obtain these natural resources is going to hurt the environment. And then we get into the whole climate change, conversation.
Let's talk about education reform, also on the table.
Education reform is very interesting to me. Extremely interesting.
Has hinted at dismantling woke federal education policies, expanding school choice, giving parents the power to decide what's best for their kids.
Rather than indoctrinating young people with inappropriate racial, sexual, and political material, which is what we're doing now, our schools must be totally refocused to prepare our children to succeed in the world.
But it's not just at home where America has been taken advantage of. It's on the global stage as well. So let's talk about Europe. For years, the United States has been the economic engine propping up Europe. They sell us 20% of their goods. But what do we get in return? A massive trade deficit. Now, I lived in Europe for years. And let me tell you, try going to the store and trying to find like an American product on their shelves. You won't find it. You won't find anything like this. Oh, you want to pick up some Lysol wipes to clean your countertops? Sorry, can't buy it there in Europe. You want some like beef stock to make your soup? Sorry, you're not going to find it. You want some organic, like half and half for your coffee? Sorry, you're not going to find anything like this. You're going to get these generic, crappy European brands, whether it's laundry detergent or basic household goods. All you'll find are subpar European brands. And this isn't just anecdotal. The numbers tell the same story. Our trade deficit with Europe stands at an eye-popping $131 billion. That's not trade. It's a subsidy. Plain and simple. We are propping them up. Trump understands this better than anyone. He's not just going to level the playing field. He's going to tip it in America's favor. The days of Europe freeloading on American prosperity are over. It's not just Europe, though. Let's talk about Canada. Over the past few days, Trump's comments about Governor Trudeau have sent the liberal media into a frenzy, and of course, for good reason. Trump called out how the United States has essentially been subsidizing Canada's economy for years, whether it's lopsided trade deals, unfair tariffs, or energy policies that put American workers last. Canada has benefited from our generosity while giving us very little in return.
I said to Trudeau, I said, why are we subsidizing you $200 and $250 billion a year? He said, I really don't know. And I said, well, I don't know either. I said, what would happen to Canada if we didn't? He said, Canada would be obliterated if that happened. I said, then Canada should be a 51st state.
The free ride is over. Next, let's talk about Greenland. The liberal media ridiculed Trump when he floated the idea of purchasing Greenland from Denmark. But let's not forget the historical precedent here. Thomas Jefferson made the Louisiana Purchase in 1803, doubling the size of the United States for $15 million. Critics called it reckless. Sound familiar? Then there's Harry Truman, a Democrat, who proposed buying Greenland in the late 1940s because he understood its strategic importance, both for mineral resources and national security. What Trump suggested isn't crazy. It's actually pretty visionary. You might not like it. It depends on where you stand on the issue, but it doesn't matter. Greenland is rich in resources, critical minerals. Its strategic location in the Arctic makes it a key player in global security. Trump recognizes this just as Thomas Jefferson and Harry Truman did. And finally, Panama. When Jimmy Carter handed the Panama Canal back to Panama in 1977 for $1, it came with one condition: neutrality. But neutrality is a distant memory. Today, China has a significant influence over the canal, creating a choke point that directly threatens the United States' interests. But the canal isn't the only issue. Just south of it lies the Darien Gap, which we've covered extensively here on this show, a dangerous stretch of jungle that's become a pipeline for illegal immigration into the United States, including military-age men from China. Heck, even 60 Minutes, liberal 60 Minutes, highlighted this alarming trend. This isn't just about immigration. It's a national security.
50 times more Chinese citizens were apprehended illegally crossing the U.S. southern border than 2 years ago. That's pretty interesting. You wouldn't expect that. You wouldn't expect that. That's very interesting.
Security concern.
Migrants from China are now the fastest growing group of people entering the United States illegally from Mexico.
China?
So bottom line, a massive wave.
And this once again, I'm not trying to get this has nothing to do with like, you know, Chinese people or nothing like that. I'm just saying the hypocrisy is very interesting as to what certain individuals within the government want to focus on. You know, they want to focus on TikTok. They want to focus on banning TikTok. You know what I'm saying? I get it. I understand there's some security risk with TikTok. I get it. I understand it. But that's kind of interesting. You know what I'm saying? That number is kind of interesting. It raises some eyebrows.
Of executive orders, a complete reset of failed globalist policies, and a clear plan to put America first. Trump's day one agenda isn't just about undoing the Obama-Biden era. It's about building a stronger, more independent future for this country. And as we've seen with Europe, Canada, Greenland, Panama, the message is clear. America will no longer be taken advantage of. The free rides are over. So that's the news update part of today's video. Now let's talk about today's sponsor, which is tied directly.
I don't want to talk about the sponsor. That's interesting. You know what my natural question is as a Christian? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's up? Like, Trump, what's good? What's good? You know, you said, God, you said God saved you, right? You said you had this revelation after the whole assassination attempt happened. And you said that, God put you in this position to save America. I know, listen, it hasn't, we still, the inauguration ain't till Monday, right? Give them some time. Let's see what happens. Let's see how it plays out. But I think for me personally, with how the election went, with everything that we've been experiencing over these past, 4 years and just everything, like this is exciting. I'm excited to see how this plays out. And I'm very hopeful that things are going to go well. With that being said, we're living in some crazy times. We're living in some very dark times. I think we're living in some end times. That's what I think. So although I'm hopeful, I recognize at the same time that we're most likely going to see the rise of some increasingly evil being presented into the world. And I feel more comfortable with Trump in office to combat that evil than I do Kamala in office or Biden. Definitely not Biden. That's what I think. That's what I think.